Well, good morning, and good morning. Hey, everybody. Look at all those beautiful people out there. Oh, wait, was that a mirror? Oh, I'm kidding. Obviously, clearly, it was not a mirror. Anyway, I'm just being silly early today. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. It's Thursday, July 30th. We got one more day, uno más, day in the month of July. It seems like the 4th of July was just yesterday. That's because that was my what was it? 58th birthday was the 4th of July. Seems like I just celebrated. But we are moving through. Tomorrow is the last day, and then we're going to be right into August. I wonder how many of you at the beginning of the year said, you know what? I'm tired of being alone. I'm sick of being a wallflower at all the dances. I'm tired of eating TV dinners. Do they still make those? Yeah, they do. They just aren't the same. Remember those ones? And literally in aluminum foil. I hated those. The mashed potatoes suck. Anyway, now that Salisbury steak was good. I got to give it that. So anyway, eating alone, all the things that come with being alone. I know because I lived that way for decades. Would you believe? I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. It really is true. A lot of you know this about me. Um, I had two relationships, including my marriage now. One I dated for 6 months when I was 22 years old. Nothing before that, nothing after that until 5 years ago, Saturday, this past Saturday, 5 years ago, I met my everything. And I had all but given up. Seriously, I had all but given up. But I hadn't given up completely, or else I wouldn't have found him that day. Went online to one of the dating sites, and I had it on in a back office in my house, and I think I was cleaning. So every time I went past, I went to see, did anybody say anything to me? I'm bad with rejection. And this one I kept hearing ding. So I go running back there, and we were like, hi, hi. And I was like, aw, isn't he cute? Blah, blah, blah. And Reader's Digest version, we met for coffee later that same day. And I lived on a bluff. So the only parking behind my house was for one car, mine, because the water was down there. And so I had to tell people to park a block away. And Brian parked, and it's so short. There were a lot of women walk their prams down the bluff in St. Joseph, Michigan. Their babies in their little prams, and so there was a group of those women crossing the street while Brian was crossing the street, and he was in the middle, and they were all taller than him. And so I was like, "Well, where are you?" He goes, "I'm crossing the street by the Dairy Queen." And I was like, "Well, I don't see you." But when I looked, and this is no crap, this is the truth. When I looked, I literally saw a light coming from the center of those women. I watched, they went straight on the bluff to walk with their children, and Brian turned and headed down the sidewalk towards me. And I was so mystified, if you will, at what I was looking at. I was talking, and I don't even remember what I was saying, but he was right in front of me when it all ended. And I said, "Well, why are we still on the phone? You're right in front of me." But I'm still looking, like trying to figure out in my mind, what the hell? What is this light, this aura? Right. And fast forward 3 hours later, before he left, I did not want him to leave. I felt this innate thing inside me that kept saying, "You better say what's on your mind. You may never get another chance." And I said, "I know this is going to sound crazy. I knew he was a therapist, so yeah, he's supposed to think I'm crazy." Um, I said, "I have a feeling I'm going to pursue you. I really think you're my soulmate. I think you're the one." And of course, he was like, "Okay." You know, I just happened to be chopping some onions at the time. No, I wasn't. I'm kidding. I was not. Anyway, and here we are. We got married 2 years later, and we've been together this past Saturday for 5 years. And when I went to the Ozarks last week, that was the longest amount of time that Brian and I have spent apart since the day we met. And so I'm just telling you, for anybody out there who is wondering, uh, can that be for me? Can that work for me? Well, today's guest here is going to answer this question for you. Who's looking for their soulmate? Uh, Jeff Kroll. I had the pleasure of being on a show with him a couple of weeks ago and a couple other people. And when he said he proves he can prove, he proved he actually did it himself. He proved that it is possible to find your soulmate in 120 days or less. Now, I think got the figures right. I believe How did he do this? Jeff went on 43 dates in 120 days, spread over 32 women. And some of those women, of course, were second dates, and found his soulmate. And so now he's written a book called The Fifth Power for Relationships that we're going to talk about today. And we're going to get you in the mindset, if that's what you want, to believe that you too can find your soulmate in 120 days or less. Now, what are the statistics for this thing? How many people actually believe in soulmates? I know I do now. Can't tell me it doesn't exist. I'm living it. Ta-da! And you know what? It is so. There's nothing better than knowing your everything is just inches from you when you lay your head down, and inches from you when you wake up. It has done so much for me believing in myself. Brian gave me a book 5 years ago that said he heard me say I wanted to be a motivational speaker. That book, I still haven't even cracked it. It's just as crisp and new as the day he handed it to me. But the fact that my soulmate said, you can do this past January was 918 paid speaking gigs later. So I'm telling you, there's power in the soulmate, and we're going to help you find yours in 120 days or less. Now, Jeff Crawl, I found these. I know he's in the green room listening, but listen, you're not alone if you believe in soulmates. 73% of Americans believe in soulmates. More men do than women. And 74% of men believe, 71% of females, 79% of people under 45 believe, but only 69% over 45 believe. And I think that's an important part for us to talk about a point today, because that was me. I was getting older. I was like, oh, guess this is just what it's going to be. Just me all the way to up the roof. And I was wrong. And I hope that if you think you're going to be alone, you're wrong too. So let's get Jeff. I know that he was down at the Starbucks doing a speed dating course this morning. I hope, is he back yet? Well, if it isn't Mr. Matchmaker. Jeff, do
Hello,
people?
hello.
Hi, welcome to the show. Jeff Crawl, author of Fifth Power, the Fifth Power for Relationships, and the Fifth Power Formula. Listen, do people? My first question is this: do people ever confuse you with the matchmaker?
They do. They do. They
What's the
always say,
difference?
"Oh, you're that." The other person I think of is that movie with Will Smith, uh, Hitch,
Oh
and they
yeah,
always mix me up with that as well. When I say, "Yeah, I help people find their soulmate," that's like one of the first things they, "Oh, like Hitch," and it's nothing like that. So.
nothing like that. So we got a lot of friends here. I think there's some people here that know you. What is this? Who is Kedma? Do you know that person? I don't know. Nick, what does that mean? Uh-oh. Let me turn this phone off. I don't know why I missed that one. So, Jeff, tell us how. I mean, come on. I know people can be busy writing things. I think I was distracted when we were on the show. It wasn't my turn to speak, so I was kind of listening, but I was writing notes. And then I heard somebody say something about soulmate in 120 days. I was like, "What you talk about, Willis?" That kind of thing. What kind of response do you get from people when you're like at a networking event or someplace and they go, that's the guy that'll find your soulmate for you in 120 days or less? Do people think it's a gimmick, or do they want to believe?
People think it's a gimmick. That's the first thing that they always say. I have a lot of people that also come up to me and they're just like, "How could you do that to people?" And they blame
Oh.
me for telling people I can help them find their soulmate. And I think that's kind of the world that we're in. But you know when people really do truly are committed to
Mm-hmm.
having that special person in their life, then they're all over me. They're asking me so many questions. It's nonstop. Because they've hit that barrier, that wall in their life where they've either, like you said, I mean, for yourself, you just given up. I mean, so many people, it's amazing that the statistics that you shared, that
Mm-hmm.
people do want to find their soulmate, but yet they hit that wall and it's like they automatically stop. And I call them there's three deadly and invisible forces I talk about that typically hold people up. So,
Mm.
but yeah,
Okay.
in
Are you going to be able
networking,
to share some of that today?
sure, sure. So the three
Okay.
So the first one is people trying to do it all on their own. So how many of us have faced, this scenario where we want to have that special person in our life and then we start to do it all on our own secretly, right? Like we go on the internet by ourselves, we don't tell people about it.
Mm,
We try things because, a lot of times we don't want to fail, right? And look bad if I told someone this is what I was up to, or they don't want to go through another bad past relationship. So, they try to do things all on their own. And I think that's a big mistake that people get trapped in, and then they
hmm.
hit that wall right away. So that's the first major one that happens almost
Okay.
all the time. And, as humans, we all do that.
Hmm.
And then the second major one is having the naysayers. All your family, friends, coworkers, they start giving you all sorts of different advice and
Based
start
on
telling
their.
you
Hmm.
on their opinions. You can't do this, or you need to get your life in order before you talk about finding someone. Someone's
Mm,
going to leave you no matter what. Don't worry about
mm,
it. So, that kind of stuff is going to show up all the time. So
okay.
having those naysayers there, that kind of the negative talk, they're the ones that kind of take the negative talk in your head and magnify it even louder, and so then you start to believe that that's the truth. And if
And they're
that's the
in most
truth,
cases, aren't they deflecting?
what's that?
Aren't in most cases, aren't those people deflecting? They're
Yeah,
they're convincing you of what they believe.
exactly.
Hmm. Hmm.
So Um, so that's the second major one, and then the third one is just kind of shiny object syndrome. I mean, we all get distracted, and we use that as a justification and a way for us not to have, what we really are committed to in our life, what really matters to us in our life. And usually, we'll do distractions like, we'll try the newest app, or the speed dating's working, so maybe we should do speed dating. Oh, there's these lunch and meet type things. Maybe we should do that. Oh, I heard this service works really well. Maybe I should pay for that service to go do that,
Hmm.
and so on. And So yeah, so those are some major
So
ones
there's
that always
okay.
always show up. And then the other one I think is interesting is what you hit on the nose, which is you give up. And
Hmm.
so in that shiny object, you do avoidance, which means you're
Yeah.
just giving up, and you just put your attention on other things, my career, or my
Yes.
my life. And before you know, you get lost in all those other things, and you've given up. What you're unaware of and you can't see is that you've given up, on what really really matters to you.
To some of my female friends that are single, I've heard everything from "I'm married to my career. I don't have time to date." Um, I have a Christian friend on the East Coast who swears up and down she's married to Jesus. So there's that. And but let her meet some guy at church. I mean, now this is the thing too. I mean, there's so many different things we can talk about with this. Um, there are people who say that they don't want it, they don't need it, they don't care about it. But as soon as they start dating, immediately they're telling everybody, "This is the one." I met Mr. Right. I've only been out to coffee once. This, that, and the other, and then they set themselves up, and then few days later, honeymoon phase is over, and now and so now they're afraid to share with people what really happened or get back up on the horse when the right one comes along. So many
Yeah,
different things that we do to sabotage. I think more people, just like with business, more people are afraid of success than truly are afraid of failure. Um, and here's another thing. There's all these different shades of what a true monogamous or committed relationship is. My idea could be different than the next person's. And so there's so many things that go into it, but if you don't look, you will not find. So I want to ask you something. We're going to take a look at something because this applies to so many people. I mean, I have a good friend who just lost her husband, that after many, many years. And we've talked about how long is, how long is the right amount of time for her to how many years should she wait? or
Right.
to start dating again? And also, when it comes to soulmates, what about people that have married and say they lost a spouse? I found something I'd like to share with everybody. We're going to share the screen just for a second. And Jeff, I want you to talk about what we finished here. It's just a minute long. This woman is Ariel Ford she's from the Omega Institute for Holistic Studies. And she gives us a little minute recap about what she believes is the truth regarding soulmates. Okay.
I know for a fact that everybody alive on the planet today who desires a soulmate has one or more out there. In fact, I believe we probably have a couple 100,000 possibilities. Right now, there are 7.2 billion people alive on the planet. Half of them are single. So, statistically, the only thing that could really keep you from having a soulmate is your beliefs.
Mm,
So, it's easy to fall into the thought, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too damaged, all the good ones are taken, the one got away, and there isn't just one. And we have to really become emotionally mature adults and start to manage our thoughts and beliefs and emotions so that when those thoughts come up, oh, I'm not meant to have love, there's nobody out there for me, you stop yourself. Stop yourself and say, cancel, cancel. It's just not true. Because just as you're seeking and desiring your soulmate is out there looking for you.
mm.
Hmm.
What do you say to that, Jeff? That is some positive, reaffirming info right there. It made me feel
Exactly.
good, and I have mine already.
She's actually right here in La Jolla. So
See, Ed, you know her?
yeah, she's in the same town. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
I totally. I mean, it's so powerful what she says there because it is so true that a lot of times we feel like we've lost that one special person and
Mm-hmm.
there's only one of them out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally against that as well. I mean, it just the biggest thing I help clients with is clarity. And I think when you have complete clarity and you only date and go out with people that fit the clarity that you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
only then will you find that right person where literally everything clicks in. And there's multiple ones out there. It's just a matter of what's the first one you're going to bump into first, and I totally believe in all of that. And it's definitely the beliefs that you
Right.
have for yourself that holds it all up.
So, Jeff, why is it that most of us believe? Where did I don't even know where I got it. Where does that come from? That we believe soulmate is one, only one. That you're wandering the universe, and it's wandering. He or she is wandering the universe, and you start going, "What are the odds?" Uh, you know. Um, and then we hear, like we just heard, that there are possibly thousands, hundreds of thousands. So,
Yeah.
what is the literal definition of a soulmate?
For me, I I use that word, but there's so many different meanings. Some people, I think people have so many different interpretations of that word that you can't really narrow it down. And what I think is, whether it's your ideal partner, the man of
Mm,
your dreams, the woman of your dreams,
hmm
your life partner, your husband, the one. There's so many different ways to describe it, and for me, soulmate means it's that person that pushes you up to that next level. That
mm,
person that believes you have more power and freedom to give to the world than you believe in yourself. And
mm.
that's one of the things
That's so
that,
true.
that I
That's what I
love
was
about
saying
my
about
wife.
my husband. Yeah, that's what I was saying about Brian. He just has this innate thing that he doesn't have to tell me. He doesn't have to render an opinion. He'll just buy me a book or something. And I mean, he constantly buys me books, and it just does something. It removes so many doubts and fears because when it comes from that one and only, it's the one place I have found in my universe where doubt just doesn't exist.
Hmm.
And it's just the most wonderful thing ever. It truly, truly is. There's some things. Let me ask you this now. So, are there any? Is there a litmus test? Is there a checklist, if you will, of ways to say, well, how do I know I'm with my soulmate?
Yeah.
Okay, can
So
you give us some of the things that point to
Yeah, I'll
that?
give you a little bit. So in my
Okay,
book, there's a section called The Power of Clarity and Focus.
okay.
And really it talks about how, most of us know, like, when we're on this journey to find your soulmate, we start with this big list, right? We started like
Mhm.
huge big list. We write it all out. It could be a page, it could be 2 page, some people 3 4. It's crazy, some of the lists that I've seen that people have, like, this is my soulmate. Start to, if you had to share that with everyone out there, you're never going to find that person, because you have such a big, huge list. So I teach people to narrow it down to only 5 attributes, 5 qualities, 5 values. There's only 5 things that you should be able to communicate, that if those 5 things were inside your soulmate, that everything else on your list would just be an automatic. So, so that's one of the major things. Is if you can clarify what that big list down is to 5 things, then I think you're on the best step, because then you can communicate clearly. This is what I'm looking for. This is, and the brain works a funny way, because when you're crystal clear on what you're looking for,
Mhm.
right, then that's what starts to show up in your
Mm.
world.
Law of attraction.
Law of attraction, right? Your reticular activating system, however you want to call it, but right, it's like it happens.
That's
As soon
true.
as you said, "Hey, I want a red car," then you start seeing there's another red car, there's another red car, there's another red car.
Yep,
You start seeing all these things.
that's
And
right.
as soon as you write down, these are the top 5 qualities I'm looking for, you're going to start seeing those. And if you start sharing those, which is my next chapter called The Power of Asking in Community, then it's just like going to open up, and people will draw that to you.
Mm.
And you mentioned I went on 43 dates, and that was all by introductions. None of them were through online dating. None of them through me going out and trying to find someone.
Right.
Right? It was just me, sharing
Cruising.
vulnerably
You
with
weren't
people.
cruising.
I was cruising. I was sharing vulnerably. I didn't even think if you would have told me in the beginning, "Hey Jeff, you're gonna go on 43 dates to find your wife and the one," I would have said, "You're crazy. Forget it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm out. I'm out. It's way too much." You know. But
Right.
it's it's what happened, because I would share with people, and then they would go, "Hey Jeff, I think I know that person. Can I introduce them to you?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so yeah.
Now, my husband is he's a doctor. He's a PhD in marriage and family relationships and all that. And I hear
Wow.
him often when he's working from home. I can hear through the door. I've heard him on more than one occasion tell people, listen, don't spend so much time looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right. Invest that time into becoming Mr.
Mm,
or Mrs. Right. Because, think about it. That makes perfect sense to me. If I'm
yeah.
looking for Mr. Right or in a, anyone else, whatever you're looking for, and I haven't done the work myself, they're not going to recognize me when I find them because I'm not evenly yoked or I don't have those qualities that they have on the list. So I
Exactly.
work. So how do you feel about that? And
Yeah. So
uh,
I,
go
I
ahead.
think you're right. You hit it right on the nose there. I mean, and it doesn't surprise me. That's what they're teaching, you know, to your husband's doing, because
Yeah.
my fifth power, for example,
Hmm.
is supposed to be the fifth power, but I put it the first chapter of my book, because it's the most important power, and that is, one, you've got to, elevate your own life to your highest self. If you're not like in the you don't have to be the best of the best, but you
Yes.
got to be on the game board of playing to be, a better self. And when you do that, you start to, again, start to attract others. And you can do that by intentionally versus unconsciously. And I think a lot of times we spend most of our time on autopilot versus actually consciously and intentionally being our best self.
Okay, good. I'm ringing the bell on that one. Now, Donna says, and I love this because we respect each other here, and we're here to talk, have a conversation. Donna says, wish we'd leave the idea of a soulmate in the weeds. It only sets one up for unrealistic expectations. Now, I get what you're saying, Donna, and then I'm gonna let you respond, Jeff. I get what you're saying, and I had that type of a mindset as well on the front end prior to actually meeting my soulmate. But once I wasn't looking for my soulmate that day. I was hopeful that it'd be somebody I could maybe catch a cup of coffee with, this and but I was so far removed from the dating scene. I didn't have any expectations, and I think that maybe that was one of the things that made it work so well. I really didn't expect much, but I will say this: it's like this. Let me just put it this way. My husband says, when things happen in my world, oh, you made the cover of this magazine, or oh, you're going to go do this thing. We used to do a happy dance. We still do. But the last time we did it, which was just a few weeks ago, he stopped and he looked at me and he goes, honey, there's something different about your happy dance. You don't seem as excited. I said, oh, no, I'm just as excited. The difference is I'm no longer surprised because I live in a world of expectancy. I tell people it's just like that. It's just like when I order something from Amazon Prime. I get that notification, your order has shipped. It's going to arrive Thursday by 9 p.m. So when someone rings my doorbell at 8:59, am I surprised? No, because I expected it. And I think that has a lot to do. You have to be in a mindset of expectancy. So Jeff, how important is mindset? Because we're great at sabotaging ourselves.
Yeah, it's the first, like I said, it's the first chapter we focus on, which is it's all mindset. I think 90% of the game is mindset. Period. I mean, because like you know, like she was saying there, setting that high expectation, always sets you up for failure. But if you don't actually have clarity of what you want, and you don't have the right mindset for what you want, what ends up happening is you hit that wall of, this is way too high of an expectation. And then the only thing to do with that is to quit, right? Is the only thing to do with that is to stop and do nothing. And you got to, again, it's tough in the journey in the beginning because I mean, I went through the downturn. I went through a divorce, and my first wife just literally just walked out, and I came home and she was just it was it was like, my bags are here. I'm out of here. I want a
Ooh.
divorce, and talk to you later. And that destroyed my life. And I remember being in that place, and you know if I didn't start like really getting into personal growth and start looking at how to elevate myself and my mindset, I, I was in suicidal at that time too. I mean, there was times where I thought, why, life's over, and she was the one for me, I thought, right? But God had a bigger plan for me for that. But,
Yeah.
that I understand that mindset, and you definitely, it's mindset all. I mean, I spend most of my time on mindset and clarity. You get those two things lined up, then it's just a matter of time. I mean, like for me, it took 120 days, but that's been broken many times from other people I worked with, which I didn't think could get broken. I kept thinking, man, 120 days is amazing, and now it's like, oh, it sucks.
Yeah. Robert in Toronto says he went through this. And Robert, I know for a fact, he's a good friend. Um,
Yeah.
not so long ago, the same thing you just described basically happened to him. Just
Hmm.
bags were packed, out the door she went. He says, I was in major depression, so I did mental housekeeping for about a year, I think he meant, and a half before the plan was put into action. And I know you disappeared for a while, Robert, but you were doing what you needed to do to get yourself back to where you needed to be. And so when we come back from break, we're gonna talk about the book further. We're gonna talk about what those 120 days were, those 43 dates and those 32 women, what it was like. How much did that cost? And are you still friends with any of them? What was it like when you found that one? when Jeff found the one that he said, "This is it. This is the one." And then also, I want to know, how does this mindset uh, play into television shows like The Bachelor, or The Bachelorette, that sort of thing. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And we're back with Jeff Krall, the author of The Fifth Power for Relationships, the guru of soulmate finding, seeking. And we're talking today with Jeff about how he went about finding his soulmate, his current wife, in just 120 days, 43 dates, 32 women, just to find that one needle in a haystack. So, Jeff, let's start with The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, those kinds of shows. Some people might say, well, isn't this kind of that? Minus the
Well,
roses.
yeah, minus the roses. I think here's the thing I think about those shows. It's kind of, remember, that's a profitable show, right? The whole
Mm-hmm.
goal is profit. So is the way they demonstrate that, you only see clips of what's really happening and you don't
Mm-hmm.
really know what the truth of all that is. Yes, they're putting all those people in front of you and so on, but were they people that were specifically put there in order to create a better TV show, or were they specifically put there because they truly believe that's the right person for you? And I would think in my case, the way I did it, I literally, my top 5 qualities, if they didn't meet those top 5 qualities, like if they met 4 of them, I didn't even go out on a date. Like I didn't want to waste time of compromising on something that really mattered to me. And
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. If I didn't meet their top 5 qualities, right, then I didn't want to compromise that as well. And I think that was an important piece. And mine were all by introductions of my community. So literally, it was family, friends, coworkers. I mean, heck, there was one lady that I met in a Starbucks. I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like sharing this story. About who I'm looking for, my soulmate. And I went through my top 5 qualities, and this lady taps me on the back and goes, "Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. I was listening in on your conversation. I think I may know who your soulmate is."
Wow.
Perfect stranger. And I went out on that date. She wasn't the one, but it was fun to just hear. I mean, but people, again, I think when you're in the right place and you're communicating it clearly, you're really living in a higher intention for yourself
Right.
and showing up that way,
Well,
that people are drawn towards you.
and let's talk about that. Is it possible to everyone fancies himself a matchmaker from time to time? And is it possible for someone to be able to identify your soulmate and send them into your world? Do you believe in
Yeah,
that?
I totally believe in that. I think a lot of times people, and this is my chapter on asking in community, people want to contribute to you.
Hmm.
They want to help you.
I agree.
They want to make a difference. And most of the time in the dating world, I don't want anything from you, right? And they stop that and they cut that power that's available to them to really find that person. Another thing is most of the time we don't see our flaws before, by the time we see
Mm,
our flaws, someone else has already seen it for years,
right.
right? So it's kind of like if someone feels like, hey, if I say, hey, these are the top 5 qualities I'm looking for, and they say, I know that person, then, I've got to trust them. They know me. And I don't think they're trying to hurt me.
Right.
So why is it that I resist that?
And Jeff, what about how for balance? Because where there's yin, there's a yang. Where there's high, there's a low.
Yeah.
So when you find those you identify, okay, he or she has those top 5 qualities. But what about those things? Because there is no Mr. or Miss Perfect. And
Yep.
a lot of people go in thinking they're not willing to take the things that people are still working on,
Yeah.
along with the greatness that is already in place. Talk about that for a minute. And
Yeah.
that's a difficult thing for a lot of people. How do we get to that point here in the mind that we can say, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think you mentioned a needle in a haystack. I think that's a good example, right? To find a needle in a haystack, it's pretty difficult to do, nearly impossible, right? So what ends up happening is if you have clarity and focus on what you're looking for,
mm-hmm,
right? And you're so clear on that you know that it's in this little handful of the haystack, and that's the only handful that you're looking at,
mm-hmm,
you're more likely to find that needle there than you are if you're looking through the whole haystack. And I think that's the piece that people don't realize is if you constantly go out on dates with people that don't meet those qualities, it doesn't mean they're not, worthy of it or what. They're just not in a place where they've gotten to the place where you're a fit, right? And
mm-hmm.
and I just feel like for me, I wasted too many times dating people for a week, for a month, for a year, for 3 years, getting married and not actually having complete clarity of what I wanted, and
In the
and
first
more
place.
importantly, that I fit what they wanted, right? Because if I don't fit what they want, then now they're in a relationship that is no fun for them for years. And after 20, 30 years of marriage, they're like, finally the kids are gone, I'm out of here, I'm done.
Mm-hmm,
And it's like, well,
mm-hmm.
wish you would have done that on day one of our date. you know
Now
it's
that's a great point. I want to pop in there, and I'm tie that in with this comment from Yolanda Riley. Now, Yolanda, I thought the same way, so I want to respond to this one. She goes, "I don't think I believe in soulmates. I think people settle or accept the person that makes them feel good or complete at that time in their life, coming from someone that's single." LOL.
yep.
Now, I wanted to say, the day that I actually literally met my husband for the first time and knew, I said at the beginning of the hour, I felt this can't even there's I don't believe all the words that we need are have been
Are
intended.
possible with it,
They're
yeah.
they're not,
You
yeah.
don't.
And
People
that's
always ask me, how do you know this is the one? It's like, I don't know how to explain that other
uh,
than there's this
might
light,
be
there's this energy, there's this
there
there's
was
this
that,
connection.
but it was also that there was a combination of what I was seeing, like the aura around
Mhm.
Brian, feeding
Yeah.
off of the energy, and and I just couldn't. It was like I was staring around and through him. Like, look at all that comes with this guy, right? But it was also knowing myself well enough to know, wait a minute, this is not me. I mean it. I did everything that day in 3 hours. I had everything but a soft shoe routine. I'm not kidding you. I cooked. I had been working on a song that was going to be in a movie, a theme song. I sang it. Um, I it was like if Brian would have tried to leave early, I would have done one of these numbers. I kid you not. I would have been like, oh, where you going?
You can't
Hey,
go. No,
hey,
no, no.
sit down. Where you going? Because I felt this urgency. That's the word.
Yeah,
I felt an urgency to speak what I was feeling, even if it made me look like a crazy loon,
yeah,
because I knew that this was a first. And there's always something you got to know yourself well enough because
mhm,
when you find yourself in the everybody always remembers their first date, their first day on the job, their first car, first day of school, first boyfriend, first girlfriend, and I knew that this was the first. It would never be if we had 100 more dates. None of them would be the first. And
yeah,
so I wanted, and we've talked about it. I tell people all the time, Jeff, one of the litmus tests for us, for me personally, that I know I'm with my soulmate, is that here we are 5 years later, and it feels to me like we just started dating 10 minutes ago.
yeah.
It
It's
feels
so
like we
true.
started dating 10
That's the
minutes
thing that
ago.
people don't realize is when you're with that right person, that's what's there. It's not like a regular dating type relationship. It's having that simpatico, that love, that energy, that companionship, that person that elevates you, that's there. And I think what you're saying or what she said earlier
Mhm.
about we just give in is so true
Settle.
because most of the time, like I said, if I had five qualities, I could see all the other failures in relationships before that I made so many meanings about and so many justifications about that I could see that none of them really had all the qualities that I was looking for. It was
Right.
really me settling. It was really me, giving in for loneliness, right? I didn't want to be lonely,
Right.
so it'd be better to do this than be lonely. And I think people get in that trap. And rather than saying, okay, I'd rather be lonely, focusing on myself, elevating myself to be my best self, get clarity on what I want, and then start attracting someone versus, well, having someone that's meeting certain needs for a certain period of time. And I'm okay with that because I have other things in my life that are
Right.
working well and doing good, and I can focus on them.
Let me ask you this. Excuse me. When making that list of 5 things, let's say, or other
Yeah.
qualities that you're looking for, because now that I'm married and now that I see how well we work together, um, it's obvious now. I don't think I saw that first day, and I don't think I could have compiled a list based on strengths in my partner that I lack.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Because for instance, Brian makes great salads, but that's about the extent of it. But I love to cook, 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 cook. We didn't know
Right.
all that day. He loves all the inside stuff of the house. I love all the outside stuff of the house. We didn't know that day. Um,
Right.
and so I want to ask you about that. What does a person, how is it that a person, how do they get to that point where they are honest enough with themselves that they know that, I'm not so good at organization. So maybe organizational skills needs to be something that I'm looking for in someone else. Because
Right.
don't you think that balance is based on where you're low, I'm high, and where I'm
Yeah.
wide, you're
I
narrow, and
think
so on and so forth.
I think those things are there in the conversation. The top five qualities is just for me to be dating in the right area, right? So
Mhm.
like if you want to date men, you don't want to go to, a different place that doesn't have that's all about dating men. If you don't want to, if you want to date women, you got to be in the right house, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think the top five qualities, what I'm saying is I'm narrowing down that needle in the haystack for you to be in there. It's not like you can't find the needle in the haystack without that. It's just having that gives you a higher probability and it's less time is the
But a
thing.
lot of people, Jeff, don't you think a lot of people look for someone who mirrors them? They gotta
Oh,
like the same music. They gotta like. Brian doesn't like seafood at
yeah,
all. It's my favorite food. He loves Madonna. I'm like, you know. Now if we'd have talked about just those kinds of things, on the first interview, what kind of music do you like? What
right,
TV shows do you like? What kind of movies do you like? That, and we
right.
might have thought, ooh, we're not compatible at all because we like different things. But really, that's what makes it work for us.
It
Is
does.
that
It does. My wife's a total organizer. So, when we have birthday parties, I have 4 kids, I mean, she'll have sometimes she has like a master book that says exactly what we're going to do and how we're going to do it.
oh,
The piata comes out at this time and we play this game at this time. We do eat cake at this. I mean, she has it all organized. I would never do that, but I appreciate it because it's something that's so powerful that connects both of us. Like I just know that that strength is there for me because I have her. I have her as my back, and she knows for me if she needs me to do something like just to make things happen immediately and have
oh,
confidence with that, then she knows that I'm there to make that happen. For her.
awesome. I'm loving that. So, Jeff, on the screen is the link to your website.
Yep.
What can people expect when they head over to jeffcrawl.com? What's waiting
Well, so I'm I do high performance coaching. So I'm a business coach as well as a life coach, or in this case, helping people find their soulmate as well. So
there?
there is a link on there that says "Find Your Soulmate," and you can just click on that link, and that goes directly to a webinar where I talk about those deadly and invisible forces. I walk you through my top 3 secrets on
Okay.
finding your soulmate quicker, and then there's a little $500 gift there at the end that
Oh,
you can utilize as well. So
awesome.
they can go there, or they can go directly to the link, which is Secret to Find Love that you said, and that'll take you directly to that. You don't even have to go to my website and go through any of that. You can just go straight to the webinar directly from there.
Beautiful. So, Jeff, uh, let's talk about how many days did you have left when you found your current wife? Was it like
It's a really funny story
119?
because
What-
so when I found my wife, just so you get this, it was a friend that brought her to a party. Okay, we're at a 4th of July party. It was actually a birthday party for someone on the 4th of July or
Oh,
the
that's my
3rd.
birthday.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, connection. Okay, I don't remember you
And
there, but
so,
anyway, go on.
anyhow, he knew I was looking for her, so he brought her as her roommate, and when I saw her, she really caught my attention. Plus, I knew him, so I was like, oh, great, I'd love to talk to her, and we talked for a little bit, and then I sat down and I was talking with a couple other women and so on, and she came over to me and she's like, hey, I think I know you, and she pulled me away and we talked for a long period of time, and literally we kind of had our first date there, and I knew that there was something special there, but I had 2 weeks of like calendared dates of
Already
people
on the books.
that met my qualities, and I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to tell this, my wife or Michelle at the time? I was like, what am I going to tell her? Do I say, yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation, we should go out on another date, I got some available time in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, let me pull open my. She might be like,
She's like 3 weeks, and then what's she gonna say? Are you going out of town? I'm like, no,
I've got a bunch of
oh,
dates. So
I got
did you let her know that you were on this quest, or no?
no, at the time, no. I let my friends know, but I told them not to share because one of the things you don't know is I purchased 2 fully paid cruise tickets for me and the woman of my dreams, not knowing who she was. And I did that in the beginning. And I told my friends, I don't want this to be about the cruise tickets, so don't tell people anything about that. And when I went on dates, I did share with them that, hey, I'm not out to just date. I'm really looking for the woman of my dreams. And, I was vulnerable. And I think that was the thing that you shared about, when you really shared with your man, it was that vulnerable side of you saying what you said and
Yeah,
then being the way that you are. Again, that's the attraction and you'll have to check with him. But I'll bet you anything,
Oh yeah.
those were two qualities that were on his top five that really just said, whoa, I got to listen to you, or this is worth my time to stop, or you know what, I'm going to at least entertain this, because when those qualities are showing up in your way of being, people are
Yes.
like drawn to that.
Right.
So,
And we've asked each other, we do this all the time. It's so much fun. And we'll be like, we just did the other night. I was like, so what were you thinking on your way home from my house at first day? And he started telling me about it and how, oh, I hope he calls me to come by on my way because Brian was at his lake house and he was going to come back through my town on his way back to Chicago the next day. And I actually kicked family members that were visiting out. I did. They were like, my niece was in there flat ironing her hair, and I started packing her stuff because I knew he was like 20 minutes away. She's like, Uncle Loren, are you putting me out? I was like, I guess I am.
yes.
And then it wasn't until my wedding when she goes, okay, now I can forgive you. So I just want to say,
But
go ahead, Jeff.
oh, I was gonna say, so I had 2 weeks of dates, and what ended up happening is we went when we went out. Well, first off, I told her, it was great meeting you. We should get together sometime, or we'll talk, or I'm sure I'll see you around because you're friends of Charles. And then she actually came to an event that I talked to her about. When we were talking, I was like, oh yeah, I'm at this personal development course, and I'm doing this next week or whatever. She just came, and her friend told her, man, he really liked you. And she's like, no, 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 he didn't really like me. He didn't even ask me out. And he's like, no, 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 he liked you. I could tell when you guys were talking, there was a connection. And so he's like, you need to go down there and just go hang out with him for the night, at this personal development course. And so he's like, oh, okay, well, and then so she showed up unannounced. And that was another thing, because that quality of being bold and just showing up like that was like another major thing for me. And it was just like, yes, and we sat down, we talked, we had a great time. And at that time, I really just knew, I was like, okay, I need to make time. And I told her that night, I was like, okay, let's go out this week. And we set a date. And then I dropped off my friend. And then I was just like, is it okay we don't go to dinner tonight? Because I kind of want to call her now and go to dinner tonight with her. And
Wow.
he goes, no, by all means. He was from out of town, but he's like, no, I'll just hang out at the hotel. You go. And so that's what I did. I called her up, but we went and had coffee and then dinner. And then the next day I had to call 2 weeks of dates. And I literally
Cancel.
called them all the next day and just said, I
Found her.
just, it's not fair if I go out on a date with you thinking of someone else that I really know right now feels like my soulmate, and I
Wow.
need to pursue that. And almost all the women were like, "Oh, well, thank you so much for being honest. If that doesn't work out, you better call me back." Things like that, because I was
Mm.
I was just truthful with them, each and
So
every one of them.
So how long after you guys started dating did you actually get married?
It was about a year and a half, a year, few months. I mean, it
And how
wasn't.
long have you been married now?
We've been married 13 years now. So
Wow,
yeah,
not two or three,
yeah, and
13.
that's right. And she had a daughter that was 8 when we met. So that was one of the reasons why it was a year and a half. Is we really wanted to make sure that she was like
Okay
on
with
board with
everything.
this as well. And it was
Okay.
funny because my wife said, "You're the first person that I would actually want to introduce my daughter to."
Yeah.
And
That's a big sign for a lot of women who have children,
yeah, and I
whether
and
they
I
feel
love that
comfortable.
part too, because there's so many single parents out there now, because like we talked about earlier, they settled and then for some reason they broke up, and because they ended up settling in a relationship, and
Hmm.
now they're single, or something happened tragically, and those single parents, they have a whole different mindset that I
Yeah.
work with,
Yeah.
that they're dealing with. And the good part is my wife was in that mindset, so I've gotten to learn a lot about that as well.
So, Jeff, as we near the final couple minutes of this interview, if we could mute the mouths of everyone else in the world and only yours was working, and the world was forced to listen, especially or specifically those people who are lonely or alone, because you don't have to be lonely just because you're alone, but those people that would be happier, you know, should they find that soulmate. What would you want them to know as we get out of here? If they hold on to it, it's all they're going to need to get to where they need to go. What would that one thing be?
That one thing would probably be that the belief you have, consider that the belief that you have there is not what is meant for you in your life. And
Mm,
that's the big thing that's there. I think a lot of times it's our beliefs that hold us up. My
hmm.
purpose in life is through integrity, fun, and happiness to empower others to live an extraordinary life beyond our beliefs and live a life of endless possibilities. And I would say just don't listen to that belief and really work and keep working on it. I mean,
Yeah,
babies don't just walk,
they
they
crawl
got
first.
to practice
That's right.
crawling,
That's right.
falling, crawling, falling, and you're walking now, so you already know how to do it. It's
Right.
just a matter of don't let that belief stop you from not being able to find your soulmate.
There it goes. There it is, everybody. So listen, Jeff, I want to thank you for joining us here today. That was a very rapid hour. It flew by. If any of you would like to continue this dialogue with Jeff, on the screen is the pathway to do that. And go over, take a look, and you might just be surprised. Don't give up. Hold on to it. If this is something that makes you feel all giggly and bubbly inside, then perhaps your soulmate is closer than you could ever believe. In order to see a blessing, in order to be a blessing, you've got to see a blessing. So start by looking in the mirror. You can see that blessing there. So will the rest of the world. I'm Lauren Michaels Harris. I want to thank you for joining me. Tomorrow morning, we've got Jessica Sanchez. Oh, no, 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 no. Wait a minute. Where is it? Okay, wait a minute. It is Jessica that was on the show with us tomorrow. Yeah, Jessica Sanchez is here tomorrow, everybody. So I want to welcome you back and ask you if you can, God willing, to join us at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we're going to do it all over again. Jeff Crawl, it was just one of the most enlightening shows I think I've ever done. So thank you so much for instilling a belief in those who may have lost it that there is such a thing as soulmates, and yours is out there somewhere. Have a great day, everybody. Get out there and do what we do. Love up on everyone you can. And remember, if you leave every person in every situation just a tad bit better than where you found it, one day, that's all I'm going to tell you. Do it and
Yeah.
find out. God bless you all. Have a blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, Jeff. Thanks.
All right. Bye bye.